Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudire Nashtaprayeshu Abhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavate Uttama Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naistiki Krishnaya Vasudevaya Devaki Nandanaya Cha Nanda Gopa Kumaraya Govindaya Namo Namaha Namaha Pankajanaභaya Namaha Pankajamaline Namaha Pankajanetraya Namaste Pankajangrahe Om Jnanatimirandhasya Jnananjana Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurve Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Sopadantikam Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Pristhaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swamin iti namine Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschata Desatarine Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shiva Shadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna. So today we'll be going through our same discussion as for yesterday. So I made some slides. Actually it was old, but had done some more on that. So I hope you can see the screen, isn't it?
Yes,
right.
thank you.
Okay.
Yes, we can see them.
So we understood that stated that there are 8.4 million or 84 lakhs of species of life. So what does that mean? It doesn't mean that it's kind of biological or physical species. It's from their consciousness, right? And I have made a slide to get more onto that. Let's try to see it. Okay. So 9 lakh species of aquatics, 20 lakhs kinds of plants, then 11 lakhs varieties of insects, and then 10 lakhs species of bird, and then 30 lakhs kind of beasts, and then 40 lakh species of humans. So what that actually mean? So it's been said that these are kind of born in many different species of life within this material world, and some are actually born by the eggs, some by the embryos, and others by the seeds like plants and trees, and others by the perspiration as well. So these are not, as I said, these are not the biological or physical aspects. These are from the subtle point of view or the consciousness, right? And it again goes more into deeper and deeper or kind of categories, but we will try to understand the categories of kind of human being especially, right? So the living entities, they are of two types. One is eternally liberated and one is eternally conditioned. Liberated means we are the person who are actually liberated, like those who are not being attached with this material modes. They are not being attached to the of these living places, and they're actually elevated all the times. And most of them are eternally conditioned. Conditioned means the three modes which bind them, and it makes us conditioned in that. And then from the conditions, there are movings as well as non-moving. And that category goes like from moving, as we discussed, the people, some can fly, some can swim, some can walk, right? And from that, 4 lakhs and 30 lakhs has been described, differentiated again. So from this 4 lakhs as a human, it comes uncivilized and civilized. Uncivilized, the major part is the uncivilized, and the fewer or minor part is civilized. Or we sometimes take these words as Arya and Anarya. So we know about in history that Arya civilization, it's not that. Arya means the one who are inclined towards spirituality. That is Arya, and Anarya is uncivilized kind of things, who are not actually inclined towards spirituality. And then even in those comes more categories like unrighteous and righteous. So even in the path of civilized, still there are some paths where the people, most of them get, they entangle in this conditioned conditioned birth and life cycle, and few of them get liberated. And then it again goes more into that. So like Krishna says, manushyanam sastre tu kaschinati siddhe yatataamapi siddhanam kaschin mamaveti tatvatah. So from here, only a handful of people who get liberated, and even then majority do not attain liberation. Even from the spiritualities, majority do not get liberation, and they sometimes become, the desire to worship or become one with Lord, and even some desire to get some mystic powers, the yogis normally. And then out of those million liberated souls understand Krishna to be the eternal servant. We understand that we are eternal servant of Krishna, and then they engages with faith. So this chat. Yes, so we are actually talking about your question of yesterday only, that how these 4 lakhs being of human species. So as said, the human species, when we understand the 4 lakhs, it's not the physical species, but it's a differentiation with the consciousness. How the consciousness is developed in each of those. And then those many people are from that categories. Consciousness is not being developed. It means they might be having a higher degrees on material education, but the consciousness toward understanding Lord, who God is and who we are, that is not being developed over there. And that is why very minor people, they try to understand these things, because this I say the example of Bhagavad Gita. Krishna says, Manushyanam sahastresu kaschidete siddhe. Like very, very, very rare people, they try to understand about Krishna. And even out of those, one might understand Krishna in Tattvata, in completely. So then it goes about the righteous and unrighteous people. So Krishna explains in chapter 7 that some people, they worship, but they do in the wrong way. They do in an indirect way. And then it goes towards the people or the devotees who actually understand that we are eternal servant of Krishna. How it is? It is said in Shastras that we are living entities. And Jivera Swarupa hai. Swarupa means Krishna Nityadas. So we are eternal servant of Krishna. When a person understands this, he starts engaging with full and devotion in service of Lord. And those are quite rare, very, very rare. We find very rare in that. And hence, it's being said that, this human life is so precious that if we don't engage ourselves for self-realization, we will be engaged in this, or we will be, in this cycle of birth and death continuously. It will become very, very hard for us to elevate. So even in chapter 14, Krishna explained that there are 3 modes which binds us, and if we are on the mode of passion and ignorance, there is no question of self-realization, and elevation towards eternal world is very, very rare in those. But the persons who do activities in a mode of goodness, they can elevate towards the pure goodness. So mode of goodness is a platform from where we can actually try to understand about who we are, what the relationship we had with God, and who God is. Then we can actually go toward that. And that is how it says Jivara Sarupa hai, our real identity is Krishna and Nitya Das. We are eternal servant of Krishna. Unless and until we understand this, engaging with faith and devotion will not come properly, right? And then from those, they engage themselves with proper devotion, with a mood to the service of Lord, and then they go back to spiritual world, right? So I hope this is a kind of roughly to understand how this classification happens. So these are not biological or physical classification, these are more of the consciousness. So the activities what we do and how consciousness travels towards the spiritual path, right? And that's why so species, again, maybe the word is same, and the scientific word species means the forms we see, but here and Shastra says that no, it's the consciousness of more. So if even let's suppose an ant, how far he can walk, but in a human being he can walk very higherly. And if the consciousness in animal life are so less that they could not think properly, but the consciousness in human life, they can think more. So that's why there is hell and heaven difference between the consciousness of other living entities and human being, right? Even if you see when the consciousness grows from the lower species to higher, it goes more and more. And in animals, even in animals, the consciousness is higher than the plants. So plants, they do not have any consciousness more, and it's there, but they are very, very less. But the higher is in animals, and higher than those is in human life. And even having a higher consciousness, if we don't engage ourselves for self-realization, then there is no use of that, right? So then today we will try to understand about the 6 opulences what we talked yesterday about Lord. These are called as Aishwaryasya, Samagrasya, Birasya, Isasriya, Jnana, Vairagasya, Sarnam Bhaga, Itingana. So there are 6 opulences. What are those? Full of wealth, full of strength, full of fame, full of beauty, full of knowledge, and full of renunciation. So if even in this material world, as we are, so anyone having slightly of these things, they get they get be respected in this world. So this verse comes from the Vishnu Purana, and like let's suppose someone having a more wealth, having a very kind of millionaire, then it doesn't matter if he is have a good strength, or he has beauty, or he is more knowledgeable. No, it's just one quality is there, wealth. He is being praised and respected everywhere. In a similar way, goes for strength, fame, beauty, knowledge, and renunciation as well. But for Krishna, this everything is complete. So if we talk about wealth, Krishna claim that yes, everything is mine. So let's try to understand this a bit more. Inside a family, let's suppose there are kids and a husband and a wife. Husband is working, wife is working, and one can say, okay, I have more wealth than you, because maybe I have more salary, or anyway, he can claim that, okay, I have more wealth than you. And when the village comes up, then that person who is claiming having more wealth in his family might not be anywhere in this town. And a town or a village can nominate one person having this the wealthiest person of our town. And when the competition goes towards from town to a state or country, that person who was very good in his town might not be in 10 or 100 in when we compare in a state, because in state we see so many towns, and so many towns they might have different person having more wealth. And when it comes to the whole world, we see there are fortune people, there are fortune 500 and this and that. And okay, and hence, but a person cannot claim that I have the whole wealth of this whole world. Maybe he can claim, okay, I am the topmost one, I am having the most of that, but he cannot say I do have everything on that. And that goes for strength. Maybe strength, okay, in this year, or maybe in the competition, he can say, okay, I am Mr. India, I am Mr. UK, or I am Mr. Universe. But in next competition, he might not stand over there. The person may be changed. But Krishna can claim that I am the strangest all the time. Right? Let's see how it happens. So that is why we say Krishna, and the definition comes to Bhagavan. He is the possessor of these six opulences in complete, in full. So when we go to strength, he has the full strength. So let's see one by one. Wealth. So Brahma Samhita explains, even we have gone through the same earlier as well, that hundreds of thousands of goddesses of fortune, Lakshmi Devi, they worship the lotus feet of Vishnu. And he can say that, yes, everything is mine. I am the wealthiest and no one can surpass me. And he can claim that wealth is in full with me. Right. And then strength. 7 years. We say that, okay, right hand, left is kind of weakest than right hand. And on the left hand also, the little finger is the weakest one in our whole body. And on this little finger, he could pick up Govardhan Hill, not for just a minute or two, it's for 7 days and 7 nights. Can we imagine it? So hence he can say, okay, I do have everything as my strength is in full with me. And we have seen so many leelas of how the demons are being killed without any weapons. He could do everything, whatever he want. So he can claim to be the most strongest personality in this whole world, even in the universe. And then comes the fame. He is famous everywhere. Even while he was stealing the butters, still he is famous, right? So in this month of Purushottam, normally devotee used to sing Chaurashtakam. This is called as who takes away thieves. Even being a thief also, he's being praised everywhere. And when he was fighting, he went the battle with Jarasan. He went away from the battlefield. Then also he got known as Ranchod. So at every point he is being praised and served and the famous all the time, right? He is instructing Arjuna that you do not go away from the war. People will talk infamy about you, and he himself has went from the war, but still people worship him as a Ranchod, and all provinces over there. And in case of beauty, he is the most beauty as well. And knowledge, we know, he says, Vedas eva, Ameva Vedya. So all the Vedas, they comes from me, and all the Vedas are actually to know me. So we read Vedas just to know him, and all the Vedas, they comes from him only. So hence he has the complete knowledge, and he can say, okay, I do have all the knowledge, because he has given the knowledge to Brahma to create this universe, right? And the last one is the renunciation. He's so renunciate that he could drive the chariot of Arjuna. And it's being said that normally the chariot becomes kind of a low class person used to do chariot, driving the chariot, but still he has no kind of problem with those things as well. For his devotees, he does everything, and hence Krishna can claim that. That is why he is called Bhagavan, because all the opulences are in him in full. Everything in him is in completely full. Okay. So, and even in this material world also, anyone having some of those, he get respects, he get famous, he get being rewarded as well in this world. And just imagine how he would be. He's having everything in him. And yesterday's topic, we left that 10 topics of Srimad Bhagavatam. So the slok goes in 10th chapter, the first sloks. Sukadev Goswami says, Atra sargo visargascha sthanam poshanam utaya manavantare shanukatha nirodho mukti ashraya. What are those? Let's read the meaning. He says, Sri Sukadev Goswami said, in the Srimad Bhagavatam, there are 10 divisions of statements regarding the following: the creation of the universe, sub-creation, planetary system, protection by the Lord, the creative impetus, the change of Manus, the science of God, returning home, back to Godhead, liberation, and the seven Bunam. So these are the 10 topics, and we discussed earlier that any Purana providing information about these 10 topics can be understood as Mahapurana, and Srimad Bhagavatam provides all this information in this, and the whole Srimad Bhagavatam is actually related to one of the limbs of Lord. Let's see those. So we'll go on to this these things. So Atra is so Atra is therefore the Sarga. Sarga is the first creation, what Vishnu does, and Visarga is secondary creation, what Lord Brahma does. And Sthanam is Krishna provide a place to create, because Brahma wanted to create, so he provided the place to create the universe. And then Poshanam means he do maintain us as well. And Utaya is the basically creative impetus or intelligence for creation. He provides it. And Manvantara is he himself. He says, we understood yesterday about the 14 Manus coming in one day of Brahma, right? And then Ishanu Katha is the knowledge of science of God. There we'll be discussing about the pastimes of Lord Rama as well. And Nirodha is returning home. How can we cut down this material bondage and go back to spiritual world? And in fact, there are 4 types of Nirodha. We'll discuss it after this slide. And then Mukti is, Nirodha going to back to Godhead. And then Mukti is liberation. Mukti is liberation. And then Ashraya. Ashraya is a shelter to Lord Krishna himself. Right. So these are the 10 topics of Srimad Bhagavatam, and we will be discussing about all this throughout the Srimad Bhagavatam. Many times Acharya says that each canto has this 10 items for discussion, and many Acharyas says that specifically this canto and this canto refers to some specific topics of this, right? But that's everything is there. So how these are actually connected to the limbs of Lord? It says the first and second canto is called as Lotus Feet of Lord. So today we actually completing second canto. It means right now we have taken darshan of Lord's Lotus Feet, both two, because we have completed chapter canto 1 and canto 2. So if you imagine a person standing before us, and we have just seen or understood about his lotus feet. So first and 2. Then third and fourth are his thighs. And then the fifth goes towards his navel. So it's just a comparison of limbs with the cantos to Lord. And sixth is his chest. 7 and 8 are his arms. 9 Canto is his throat, and 10 is kind of Ashraya, is lotus face, Krishna's lotus face, always smiling and giving pleasure to his devotees. And 11th is his forehead, and 12th is his head. So the 12 canto are being related to Lord Krishna himself. As we discussed earlier, there is no difference between Lord Krishna and Srimad Bhagavatam, and hence these cantos are relations to each limbs of the Lord. And this is also one of the way to take darshan. Whenever you go to temple, when we see the deities, we should try to first see the lotus feet, the 2 feet of the Lord. And then by meditating on those 2 feet, we should try to take up to his thighs, and then towards his navel, then his chest, then his arms, then throat, then face, and this complete head. So normally it's been advised that we should be taking darshan of Lord in this way, not just going and just seeing his face and come back. So these are the ways to see Lord, from lotus feet to his lotus face, right? Even it is described in Bhagavatam as well, in Kunti Maharani's prayer. So Kunti Maharani is being, as he was elder, so she just seen her face first and then moved around towards his feet. So just not to offend, because as in there, so see his face and then comes to his feet and make it a whole circle. That's out of love anyway. And then we discussed about the Nirodha part, on is called as Pralaya, or annihilation or dissolution as well. There are 4 types of Pralaya. I just gave a few overview. This one is called as Prakratik Pralaya, or elementary dissolution. And it actually happens, just one second, I'm not wrong. One second. Yes. So Prakriti Pralaya is basically destruction of universe. That is end of Brahma's life. So yesterday we discussed the same a bit on that. So when 100 years of Brahma's goes, everything goes back into the body of Mahavishnu. That is called Prakriti Pralaya. This whole Prakriti goes back to the body of Mahavishnu. And then second is called as Naimitic Pralaya. Naimitic Pralaya is basically occupational annihilation, which actually happens at each night of Brahmaji. And in that, the 3 top layers doesn't get dissolved over there. And then third Pralaya is called as Nitya Pralaya. It is a constant deterioration. It happens every day. We as a living entity, every day it's something goes away from us. And even science says that, I think in 6 or 7 years, each body limbs is being renewed, isn't it? And the fourth one is called as Atyantik Pralaya. Atyantik Pralaya is basically ultimate destination. So when we take shelter of lotus feet of Lord, and then we get liberation and go back to Lord. That is called as Atyantik Pralaya. We do not remain anymore in the cycle of Pralaya, because Krishna told, when we go back to his spiritual world, the same world, we do not come back again in this material world, and hence there is no more Pralaya. And there's a last one, we go back to Krishna's Dhamma. Krishna says that in chapter 4.9 as well, that anyone who knows my transcendental nature of appearance and disappearance, appearance and activities, they come back to my spiritual world and they do not come back to this material world, right? So that's the fourth one, that is atyantik pralaya, and that is actually persons get liberation from this material world. So these are the things, and just wanted to have a quick review on overview on Srimad Bhagavad Gita as well. The 5 topics of Srimad Bhagavad Gita. The first is, who is God? That is Krishna. The answer is Krishna. So if you see in Bhagavad Gita, it's always said somewhere, Arjuna Uvacha. So Arjuna is saying, or Dhritarashtra Uvacha, Dhritarashtra is saying, Sanjay Uvacha, Sanjay is saying, but it's never said Krishna Uvacha. It always says Sri Bhagavan Uvacha. And we understood the definition of Bhagavan. So we understood about the Bhagavan and Krishna. We all know that Krishna has spoke Bhagavad Gita, and so who is God? Krishna is God. In fact, actually supreme God, we can say. And who are we? So we are living entity, his parts and parcel. Krishna explains that in 15th chapter, Mamai Vanse Jiva Loke Jiva Bhuta Sanatana. So we are his parts and parcel, and we are eternal as well. And so Sanatana means we were exist in the past, existing in the present, also will exist in the future. We are always his parts and parcel. So that's second topic of Bhagavad Gita. The third topic says about Prakriti, this material nature, and this material nature is his energy. And the fourth topic is the Kala. Kala is time. So we are all bound by this time, and we discussed earlier as well that setting rising of sun and setting of sun takes our one day, isn't it? So this is the Kala, and Kala does not exist in spiritual world. It's in material world, and it, because of Kala Chakra, everything happens. If you remember, Bhishma Dev was saying that the Pandavas, you were suffering, and we went through so many miseries. It looks to me like it's because of Kala Chakra, but then again he says no. I think it's only the will of Krishna. Again, Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita that I am Kala, so he is the time as well. And if we surrender to him, if we take shelter of him, he can manage everything for us as well. And the fifth topic of Bhagavad Gita is karma or activities. So karma is important because these four, who God is, we cannot change. Who we are, we cannot change. Prakriti, we cannot change. Kala, we cannot change. However, the karma is within us. We can change it. We can do karma as prescribed by the scripture, so that we can actually go back to Godhead. Right. So karma is in our hand, and the karma is actually the cause. If you see, remember, while we've been explaining by Brahmaji to Narad Muni, that the Kala factor and karma factor, it comes and produces the next destination of living entity. So that is the important thing. Okay, so there is a question in chat, is saying please explain occupational annihilation. So I'm not sure if I can share that. Okay, just give me a second, let me try to. Okay, I'll come back on that question again. So I tried to make this point as well, as we were discussing the 10 topics of Srimad Bhagavatam. So I thought let's keep this as well to understand what Bhagavad Gita gives us, right? And if there are some slides where Krishna says that O Arjuna, I am the generating seed of all existence, therefore is no being moving and non-moving, that can exist without me. So it's like machine. Machine is there, but a driver is needed, and that driver is consciousness provided by Krishna himself, right? And then I think it's getting a bit slow. Yeah. So Krishna, we understood that Shvedakashai Vishnu, how he enters into each living entity, even in lion, even in a devotee, even in a man, in an animal, everything, he enters himself. And that says, this material nature, which is one of my energies, is working under my direction. O son of Kunti, producing all moving and non-moving beings under its rule, this manifestation is created and annihilated again and again. So the process we see in about the four process, Naimitic, Nitya, Atyantik. So this goes again and again, continuous and continuous. It's a cycle. And if you see the nice universe, it says, this all rest by my energy. I enter in each planet, and by my energy, they stay in the orbit. I become the moon and thereby supply the juice of life to all vegetables. Right. And then, interestingly, Krishna says in chapter 10, know that these all opulent, beautiful, and glorious creations is spring from but a spark of my splendor. It's just a spark of my splendor. It looks so glorious, but this is just a spark. So imagine it, what would be his splendor if this is a spark, right? I think that's for today. And for that question, so let me try to come back on that 1 second. If I can get it, just 1 second, hopefully. Okay, so you can see my screen, right? And the question was, let me read it again. So can you please explain occupational annihilation? So occupational annihilation is a naimatic pralaya, which happens at the night of Brahma. So if you can see the patal, rasatal, mahatal, talatal, the below talas, and then upper we have satyaloka, tapaloka, janaloka, maharloka, swargaloka, and bhurloka, and bhuvarloka. So at every night, the top three, satyaloka, tapaloka, janaloka, it does not dissolve. It remains there, and up beyond before that, Mahavishnu and all the universes are still there. But in Prakritik Pralaya, that is basically 100 days, 100 years of Brahmaji, everything goes back into body of Mahavishnu. So to get more understanding on that, so if you see the picture, isn't it? So here you can see the universes. That universe actually goes back into the body of Mahavishnu in Prakritik Pralaya. And in Naimatic Pralaya, the universes remain, but only few parts where they will go on. Yeah. So only below Janaloka, the Maharloka, Swarloka, Bhurloka, Bhuvarloka, and Atal, Patal, Atal, Vital, Sutal, Talatal, Mahatal, Rasatal, and Patal, this get dissolves. And when day comes next year Brahma, it again starts. It's again created over there. I hope this answers your question.
Yes, Prabhu.
And Nitya Pralaya is every day. Even when we go to sleep, we forget everything. And Nitya Pralaya, basically, it's happening every time. But example is given for sleeping, because when we sleep, we forget everything for 5, 6, or 7 hours. And then when again we come back, okay, yeah, still everything is all there, all good. So this is how we end our chapter 10 of Canto 2, and which actually completes Canto 2 in an overview. But I would request and recommend you, if you have time, and if you can go on to the purpose of Srila Prabhupada, this will give us more insight, understanding as well. Sorry. Hare Krishna. And tomorrow we will start Canto number 3, where we will be starting seeing a very nice conversation between Maitra Muni and Vidura. Actually, it describes about a lot more about Vidura. So how, what did he did when he left Hastinapur before the war of Mahabharata, or the battle of Kurukshetra. What he did, it is described in Canto 3 and 4. Actually, it goes towards both cantos. Okay. Any more questions today? Or I think we are on time today. If all okay, then we can have stop it. Okay. Thank you very much. Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. Prabhupada ki jai.
Thank you.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.